Hello everyone. Today I'd like to talk about the Manjushri Institute and how it got into the possession of the new Kadampa tradition. This is something that most current NKT members don't know. They have no idea. They're not familiar with this story. When I was involved in the NKT, I found out about the history of Manjushri Institute, which is now the headquarters of the NKT in Ulverston, the UK. And when I found out about this story, I started asking questions about it. Asked my resident teacher. He was not really giving me any answers. I have no idea how familiar he was with what happened and how the Manjushri Institute got into the possession of the new Kadampa tradition. But when I found out about the story, which involves blackmail, that was a decisive watershed moment for me to leave the tradition. I felt that this was some sort of behavior that was karmically so heavy that I could not possibly be associated with the new Kadampa tradition any longer. So let's see what happened. So sometime in the 1970s, on the advice of the Dalai Lama, Kelsang Gyatso was invited to teach at the Institute at Priory, it was called at that time, at the FPMT Manjushri Center. FPMT stands for Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. So at that time, Manjushri Center, or the Priory as it was called, was owned, originally bought by some members of the FPMT and managed by the members of the foundation. The FPMT itself was founded in 1975 by Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. The property itself was purchased and maintained by the students of the FPMT, and this was the situation into which Kelsang Gyatso, a fairly young man, shy Tibetan man at that time, was invited. So Gyatso soon gathered a large following, and in a few years decided to get the enormous property, the Manjushri Institute, the Priory, the real estate itself, to himself and to his group of students. He was starting a new sort of group, Buddhist group, independent of the FPMT. So at this point, there was a confrontation and conflict between Kelsang Gyatso and Lama Yeshe. Lama Yeshe asked Kelsang Gyatso to leave the property and to leave the FPMT, which Kelsang Gyatso did not do. So he just stayed there in Manjushri and continued to teach classes. Lama Yeshe at this time, at some point, went to California, and he was in California. So now we are in the early 1980s. On July 22nd, 1983, Kelsang Gyatso sent two of his emissaries to California to the offices of Lama Yeshe. One of these two emissaries was called Chik Rodamore, who later became Kelsang Tarchin. Kelsang Tarchin was a very popular teacher in the NKT. I think he was a bit too popular. He got sick. He got very sick a few years ago. He got Parkinson's disease, and what we know about him, well, he completely disappeared at some point. And what we know about him is that he's being taken care of by nuns, not Buddhist nuns and not Kadampa nuns, but Catholic nuns, somewhere in the northern England, last I heard, and his condition is very dire indeed. So the other one of these emissaries was Tenzin, a young Tibetan man who was Kelsang Gyatso's translator. So these two people then delivered a tape from Kelsang Gyatso. So the tape was delivered to Lama Yeshe's secretary, Jacqueline Keeley, and the voice on the tape was that of Chik Rodamore's. Basically, in this tape, Kelsang Gyatso blackmails Lama Yeshe, saying he's got information of illegal activities in the center, in Manjushri Institute, and that if Lama Yeshe does not concede the property to Kelsang Gyatso will report these illegal activities to the authorities. This is what is on the tape. I have been in touch with Jacqueline Keeley for a short time regarding this tape, I wanted to make sure that this information is true and valid. She referred me to Peter Kedge, who was one of the trustees at that time of Manjushri Institute. He was part of the FPMT. And Peter Kedge, I had a long conversation with Peter Kedge. He confirmed to me that what is in the tape is true. This actually did happen. So what I would like to do now is actually read the transcript of the tape to you. So that you can actually find this transcript online. I'm going to put a link to the transcript and to the blog where you can find this information, but I'm going to read transcript of the tape now anyway. So this is the voice first of Jacqueline Keeley, Lama Yeshe's administrative assistant. This tape recording is a message from Geshe Kelsang Gyatso delivered to Lama Thubten Yeshe on July 22, 1983 by Chip Rodomore and Geshe Kelsang's translator. At enormous expense, Geshe Kelsang sent Chip and Tenzin all the way from England to California, especially to represent Geshe Kelsang by delivering his blackmail. We hope that these facts are clearly apparent to you. And then it's the voice of Chip Rodomore, and this is where the blackmail begins. Dear Lama Yeshe, thank you very much for your gifts to us, which Tenzin and I both deeply appreciated. We were deeply disappointed at not being able to see you. We feel that we were unable to accomplish one of the most important purposes of our visit to you, which was to explain the urgency and serious dangers in the present situation. We meant to protect you and to protect the FPMT from very serious legal dangers, which would be extremely damaging to your reputation and of FPMT internationally. We do not feel, therefore, that your tape response to our first meeting is acceptable under the circumstances, and therefore urge you to consider very carefully this taped communication. Please know that we are sincerely and faithfully trying to protect you from these dangers, but that you are ignoring us. Please do not ignore us now. The situation at present is that present trustees of the Manjushri Institute, including Peter Kedge and Harvey Horrocks, are involved in irregularities with respect to and violations of the terms of the Manjushri Institute trust deed. These constitute civil illegalities, and please appreciate that some of these are major. They are very important, and that some of these are viewed by the Charities Commission as extremely serious and could constitute a basis for the removal of 3 of the 4 trustees of the Manjushri Institute, including Peter Kedge, Harvey Horrocks, and yourself, Lama. Please also appreciate that the present situation, especially with respect to the trustees of the Institute, also involve criminal illegalities. Many of these are very serious violations of the law with respect to the conduct of business operations, particularly Lotus Trading Company. Some of these illegalities are extremely serious criminal actions carried out by the trustees themselves, and others very closely connected with FPMT. Tenzin and I are not in a position to say what these illegalities are, but if you wish to know the details and if you wish to know the people involved, we urge you to call Peter Kedge or Harvey Horrocks and ask them, because they know. And it's very possible that Jackie Keeley knows as well. Who is involved in these criminal illegalities? Basically, they are key members of FPMT, of the FPMT organization. Now, at present, the Charities Commission holds a typewritten report numbering close to 100 pages, which not only summarize a number of civil and criminal illegalities with respect to the conduct of the management of Manjushri Institute, but also contains supporting evidence. Please also appreciate that our attorney in London, who is an expert in charity law, also holds details of the most serious criminal illegalities conducted by some of the trustees and others, and supporting evidence. Now, the immediate consequence of not signing the agreement that we presented to you a few days ago is that our attorney in London will turn over the details of the most serious criminal illegalities to the Solicitor General's office. The consequence of this will be a police investigation of the trustees of the Manjushri Institute, in addition to the conduct of the FPMT organization. So he's basically blackmailing the trustees of the FPMT, but the FPMT itself, Lama Yeshe himself, who was part of the trustees and part of, obviously, the FPMT. I'm going to continue. In addition to this, the Charities Commission will start a full investigation of the civil and criminal illegalities contained in the report which I mentioned, which the Charities Commission already has and has examined over the last few weeks, but at our request is not investigating yet. I'm going to stop again. And so basically, Kelsey Gets is saying that they have given this document to the Charities Commission. The Charities Commission has read the document, which contains very, very serious allegations of criminal activities. They're not specified in the tape, and we don't know exactly what Kelsey Gets is referring to here. But basically, he's saying that the Charities Commission has the document, has read the document, and is not investigating yet because they kind of stopped the investigation. They told them not to investigate. Now, this is just crazy. If the Charities Commission gets a report that contains, illegalities, I am sure that they're going to start to investigate independently of what Kelsey requested them to do. So, this just sounds like a big fat lie. There was either no document given to the Charities Commission. If there was a document given to the Charities Commission would have started investigation, because as it says here in the tape, the allegations of criminal activities in Manjushri Institute. So why wouldn't the Charities Commission investigate? But unfortunately, I don't think Lama Yeshe saw through this lie, or maybe he didn't know how the Charities Commission operates. I don't think you can tell the Charities Commission, look guys, don't deal with this stuff now because we'll tell you when to investigate. No, it doesn't work like that. So I'm going to continue with the tape transcript. He says, this report explicitly requests the Charities Commission to remove 3 trustees from the Manjushri Institute, including Peter Kedge, Harvey Horrocks, and Hugh Lama. And the details given are the illegalities which I have already mentioned. Lama, please also appreciate the overall consequence of these actions proceeding in the court and also in the Charities Commission. Please realize that there probably will be a public trial of trustees of the Manjushri Institute in addition to other key FPMT people. So what is he doing here? He's basically telling him, look, if you don't do what we say, there's going to be not only an investigation but also a court case, a trial, which will expose the FPMT and you personally. Continue. Please also appreciate that you, Lama, will probably have to go to court to answer questions and possibly even to stand trial. If prosecuted, trustees of the Manjushri Institute will probably go to jail, and possibly also other members of the FPMT. And finally, the Charities Commission, through its own investigation and as a result of the public trial and possible prosecution of trustees and other FPMT, will formally remove the 3 trustees I have mentioned from the Manjushri Institute. So what's happening here is that he's telling Lama Yeshe that, Lama, you personally will go to jail. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lama Yeshe. To me, I never knew him in person, obviously. But I know him from videos and his writings. He was just, and testimonies of people who were close to him. Apparently he was just the sweetest, kindest, most wonderful man on earth. And his teachings really helped me personally a great deal and are still helping me. And I just can't believe that anybody would threaten this man with jail. Like, it's just something that is completely, it's something that I don't get. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And especially this coming from Kelsey Gyatso, who was invited by Lama Yeshe, who was sponsored by Lama Yeshe to come to the UK. And let's not forget that Kelsey Gyatso was being cured here, being treated here for various ailments and problems with his lungs. So, he had so much to thank for in terms of Lama Yeshe. Like, it's really difficult to believe that he would do something like this. I just don't get it. But let me continue with this document. It's really depressing. It says, now please appreciate that the FPMT, as a result of this, will be disgraced internationally. The purpose of Tenzin and my coming from England to see you in California was to impress upon you the grave seriousness of the present situation and to obtain your signature on the agreement we presented to you along with the letter from the Institute. This action we have taken has been at the recommendation of the Charities Commission and also of our own attorney in England. So basically, they're trying to whitewash their action, saying that it was actually the Charity Commission that told them to blackmail Lama Yeshe. And, if Lama Yeshe, well, we're going to get to that, signs the document basically giving them Manjushri Institute, the real estate, this piece of real estate, which was Manjushri Institute, then this whole thing will just miraculously disappear and go away. Like, just think about that. Like, how likely is that? How likely is that happening, right? That the Charity Commission will say, oh yeah, sure, guys, just let's see if Lama Yeshe signs this document and you get this piece of real estate, and then if everything goes well, we'll just forget about the illegalities and the criminal prosecution. Like how likely is that? It was obviously a big fat lie. But Lama Yeshe was not very well versed in Western things. I don't know if they had good lawyers. I'm not sure. He just wanted to resolve this whole thing. He did practice non-attachment, and eventually he did sign the document. Also because he thought other people were involved. He was feeling responsible for other people, so he felt like he had no choice but to sign. But let me continue with the document. So this is still the tape transcript. It says, as you said in your tape that you agree with the proposal that we have offered you, then please sign the agreement now to take back to England with us on Monday. If we are, and this is, okay, listen to this. If we are unable to return to England with your signature on that agreement, which you have already indicated you agreed with, then please know, Lama, without doubt, that civil and legal actions will commence next week. Lama, I will call you at 10:30 tomorrow morning to hear your response to this communication. I sincerely hope from the very bottom of my heart that you will be willing to sign the agreement, which represents an extremely tolerant and an extremely peaceful solution to this overall problem under the circumstances. However, if there are further questions that you wish to ask, if there is any way in which Tenzin or myself can be of further assistance to you in understanding the present situation, please let us know. And we are completely at your disposal from now until the time that we actually have to leave for England, which is Monday afternoon. We're really basically talking about a couple of days max. Okay, please listen to my tape carefully so that you do understand completely what is involved, and that there will be no regret in the future if legal actions are in fact taken. Good night, Lama. So this is the famous Good Night, Lama tape. First time I've read this, I was floored. I just could not believe that Kelsang Gyatso would do something like this, that Tarchin, who is so respected, he seems so nice, he seems such a valid Buddhist practitioner, would actually record this tape with his own voice and deliver it to Lama Yeshe, whom he knew very well. I am actually not even sure that he may have been ordained by Lama Yeshe. I don't know. I'm not sure who Tarchin was ordained by. I should find out. I don't think it was Kelsang Gyatso, because I think Tarchin was already there before Kelsang Gyatso arrived. So Lama Yeshe was his teacher, his Buddhist teacher. So yeah, it's tough. And also, okay, so what does this say? What does this say about Kelsang Gyatso? Like, what did it say to me at that time when I first read it? It said to me, okay, so here's a guy who basically blackmailed his fellow teacher to get a property that he just needed, that he wanted, because for whatever reason. And he had no qualms threatening this person. And, what does this say? Like, do I want to follow a teacher like that? Do I want to follow someone like that? Do I want to entrust my spiritual path to someone like that? And so to me, like I said, it was a watershed moment. This is when I completely got disillusioned, not just from the NKT, but also from Kelsang Gyatso. Lama Yeshe, not too long after this, got very sick. It was his heart. He died soon after. I am almost positive that this whole affair, the blackmail and losing Manjushri and the whole thing, was very heavy on his heart, very difficult for him to deal with, and I am quite convinced that it contributed to his early death. Also, the people that I talked to that knew him at that time, that were around when this whole thing went down, told me that very probably this blackmail played a big part in his demise. So what does the NKT say about the Manjushri Institute? How did they get this institute? They recognize the fact that originally it was in the FPMT's possession, and they just simply say that thanks to a legal loophole, they acquired the institute. So they call this whole thing a legal loophole, and no other information is given about the history of the institute. So this is just something that I wanted to share with those who are interested, who didn't know. We are all free to make our own deductions and figure out what this means for us. I already told you what it meant for me, what it means for me. Just see what it means for you. Maybe nothing. Maybe this is not important. Maybe this was a long time ago and it no longer matters. But yeah, that's all. That's all for me, folks. Thank you very much for your attention.